Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, let's get to this. It's different parenting styles. Some say the tough love is good. Now we're saying it's not good. Explain.
Well, tough love, I suppose, is a catch-all term, but really what the study was about is parents who parent with harshness in their approach, parents who yell, parents who still use physical punishment, parents who motivate through threats, tend to have some negative consequences to their teenagers.
All right, Joel, we need to talk real to parents. I'm one, I have 3 kids at home. And there was a moment yesterday with my 3-year-old, and he was saying things that a 3-year-old shouldn't say.
Oh boy.
How do you, be real here? How do you love through something like that?
You love through that, you don't like through it. And so the bottom line is that we're going to be people. We're going to have reactions. The big thing is to look at the big picture. You know, this too shall pass. So again, with a 3-year-old, you have to figure out what works for your kid. I mean, sometimes timeouts work with the kid, but if you do timeouts, the goal is to have them be brief, to have the kid de-escalate, and then tell them, here's what I want you to do the next time this thing happens. The goal also is, as much as possible, to practice positive parenting. And positive parenting has 2 parts to it. Tell your kid what you want instead of what you don't want.
You know, Joel, this study, it's interesting. We talked about this yesterday on the news, and it shows that those kids who grow up in these harsh environments, they take more risks. This is what the study says. They get bad grades, and they have sex at an early age. Now, having said that, many times on the news, we've talked about this. We've even posted it up on Facebook and social media, and a lot of people say, you know what, this generation says, hey, our parents did that with us, and look at us, we turned out fine. Are we being, well, some of us.
I agree with Chrissy on that one, by the way.
Some of us, but others would argue, are we being a little too lovey-dovey with the kids? Are we really raising
We're too easy on them.
We're too easy on them? Let's talk about our feelings.
You can still hold a child accountable without being harsh. And that's the bottom line here.
How do you define what harsh? Because this is what I was trying to get to. When you say tough love, you mentioned this at the start. It's so subjective.
Yeah.
What is harsh for one person versus another person? I mean, obviously, we've proven through studies that the hitting and that kind of stuff doesn't work. But in terms of the language, what you can say, what you can't say, how do you define it?
Right. Well, excuse me. This study specifically identified kids' reports of how much were they yelled at, how much were they hit, and then how much did parents threaten punishment, rather than encouraging positives. Because like with positive parenting, the other piece is you want to motivate through reward if you can, but not necessarily rewards that you buy. You want to look for privileges.
Okay.
You want to look for positive attention.
Okay, so give us...
Oh, that's good. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
reward with something you buy. It's with a privilege.
With a privilege.
Nice.
So I've always said this with the kids. I wish that they would give you some type of handbook when you're leaving the hospital and say,
Right.
here's how you do it. They don't. So can you give us maybe 1 or 2 examples that parents maybe with younger kids, and then also parents with the teenagers. I was a teenager not
Bless
too
their
long
hearts.
ago.
Parents with teenagers.
Right? In those 2 different categories, how would you approach a situation? You have a teenager who doesn't want to talk to you or talks back or is withdrawn, and then the 3-year-old who thinks he's a teenager. Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I consider teenagers and 3-year-olds as much more similar than most people do. They tend to be pretty self-centered, and they tend to tantrum when they don't get their way.
Yes.
So I'm not so sure that's different. But obviously, with teenagers, you want to lay the groundwork to prepare them for tough decisions. A teenager's capacity to get into serious trouble is so much greater than a 3-year-old's, as long as you're supervising. So with teenagers, you really want to look at it, how much structure does my teenager need? How much freedom can they handle? And I talk to families on a regular basis about how if a teenager is acting out, they're really saying to their parent, I've got too much freedom. You got to take some away. And so you want to really motivate through, okay, are you making decisions that are likely to, advance your life in a positive way? And going back to the study for a minute, one of the things they found is that the problem here is that harsh parenting tends to lead kids, teenagers in particular, to think about the moment instead of asking themselves, what's going to help me be successful later on? And when you do that, it's not a good strategy a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's smart. Here, I want to run something by you because my wife, she preaches all the time. Patience, kindness, and leading by example. Not to the kids, to me. Because she does this, and I look at her, Joel, and I say, how do you have the patience to deal with? And there's a certain point when the kids just are not listening, and then I have to step in. It's almost like I have to be the bad cop in the relationship. But my wife has the patience of I can is that the way to go? And then at what point do you say, well, that's not working, you need to do something else?
Well, too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
Right.
So you can go to the extremes on either end of things. You can be overly strict and rigid, or excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Or you can be,
We all are.
or you can be overly permissive. And when people talk about, oh, everybody gets a trophy, I don't think that's bad as long as the winners get bigger trophies. You know, we still live in the real world.
Yes.
You want to reward accomplishments. You want to reward, but that being said, you want to reward effort. You want your kids to try hard. And if your kids are trying hard, in all likelihood, they're going to have success. So in terms of patience, you have to decide, okay, at what point am I giving them permission to not take me seriously? Because that's the problem, especially if you give in after a tantrum. You got to not give in after a tantrum, because you're telling your child, the worse you make me feel, the more likely you are to get what you want.
Wow. Oh, good.
that
Joel,
was good.
stick around for an hour, Joel. I got many questions for Joel.
And you
Please
do
don't
that
go.
all the time. We should do this
Oh,
all
man.
the time, right?
Oh, man. You know, my daughter yesterday got an award at school, like a big award for respect.
Oh.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and then she gets home and she started acting up a little bit, so I had to like, hey, I thought you got this respect award at school. And she said, that was at school.
Yeah. That's a big thing on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Check that out if you're not familiar.
What is it?
Emotional
Emotional
intelligence.
Okay.
It's how you grow as a
Okay.
person. Joel Lazar, thank you. Please come back every day
Please
to talk
come
about
back.
children and how we
Every
do
day.
stuff.
A little later in the day, but okay.
Yeah. Hey.